God bless you. This is Dr. Tanda Kenyon. I just got something that I feel that is very important. I wanted to share with those of you who have followed my ministry and have followed my life. I'm just in a whole new phase now where the Lord is just leading me to make impartation into those, especially those who feel like there's no hope, those who feel like, that God is not going to do certain things in your life. A lot of things you know about me, but there's a whole lot of things that you do not know about me. I'm a pretty private person, and I think just the timing is right. A few months ago, I was sitting in my home, and for years, people have asked me to write books and make other spiritual contributions. But at this particular time, I was in my family room, and my family and we were sharing stories. And parts of my story I had not shared, not even with my own husband. Despite how I dress, many have looked at how I dressed and the things that the Lord has blessed me with over the years from hard work and just God's favor and blessings because of my years of service. I came from a very poor, abject poverty type of situation as well as very violent. And we were so poor until it was really embarrassing even for people to come to our homes. I'm not going to talk about the space because it wasn't a whole lot of space in the house. There was 8 of us and maybe about approximately 500 to 700 square feet. The home was so downtrodden and ragged until we did not have indoor plumbing. We had an outhouse, and a lot of those things are very painful and very embarrassing. But in my book, my new release, Blood on the Floor, is going to spell out some of the details, especially those of you who had struggling and tough beginnings just like I did. What I found out, though, is it doesn't matter how you began, is how you end. That you do not allow poverty or even the violence that I experienced to alter your life. You got to learn to rise above it. And I want to teach you some of those things. Some of the problems that I had in the home was not just the poverty, because there's a certain way people treat you when you're poor. And there's a certain way people treat you when you come from a violent beginning. My father was very abusive and very violent. So much so until I named the book after one episode in particular was the blood on the floor. At 7 years old, I should have been out playing and should have been out having fun with the other girls and playing with dolls. But during that time, I was not doing that. I was mopping up my own mother's blood from a violent episode that my father had inflicted upon my own mother in our presence. One thing in particular that came to mind was one day I was sitting on her lap, and I remember this very intensely, just like it just happened. But this particular day, I was sitting on my mother's lap, and I remember my dad coming in and asking for money to gamble. And we were so poor, Mama kind of saved everything that she had so that we can at least have food. And this particular day, he asked her for money, and she refused. There was no argument. There was just nothing that would have merited what was getting ready to happen. So instantly, without any provocation, he took out his knife and just plunged it into her jaw. And I remember as a little girl that blood splattering on the wall, just like a sprinkler. And it splattered on the wall. She jumped up, she screamed. But my mother, what she did, I will never forget her for this, is that she could have just grabbed her face, because her face was gapped open. She could have grabbed her face and just ran for her own life and left me there, and maybe he would have done some things to me. But she grabbed her face, but she clenched me, and I remember that blood running down and dripping on my little face as a little girl, and my mother screaming and running across those tracks to try to find help. So I said all of that to say that I started with blood on the floor. We had to mop up my mother's blood. Can you imagine a kid, 7 years old, having to clean up your own mother's blood? But I started with that blood on the floor. But I ended with the blood on the cross. And I want to help you to take this journey with me in my book. And I want you to step into the world of that I had to go back and pull up again so that I can be a blessing to your life.